Hi there, my name is Hira Nyaki, and for this artifact within my portfolio, I'd like to show you a current project that I'm working on within my ACIT 2910 5-week project course. Within a web application, the efforts that I've mostly contributed to this project lie within this page that you see on screen, which is the order page. Myself and my partner have coded every aspect of this page. This page really, what it can be broken down to is three parts. Actually two parts. The form and the submit button. The submit button is obviously within the form. The form contains a field for a customer to enter in their name. So for example, test 5. It has drop-down lists, and within the specific cake drop-down list, it changes the image based on what's in the drop-down. I would like to concentrate within this artifact to show you the code that went into creating these drop-downs. Drop-downs are easily created in HTML. However, what we had to do differently was instead of hard coding every option in here, so instead of saying that there are these specific cakes, we had to make it link to our database so that if our client ever created a new item or edited an item or deleted an item, it would be represented within all these drop-downs. So these are all live and linked to our database currently. So what happens at the end is once a customer selects submit, the order gets entered into the database, and then you can see it later on within the report section. Moving on to our code. So within NetBeans, I'll show you right from the very top, starting from the controller of our order page. So what our controller code has one function, the index function. It doesn't really have anything else. What starts off in the beginning is it loads into the page body or order view. Nothing really with the price. It has a record, which is an array of creating a new entry within users. And what it does, the most of the magic happens over here actually. We have placeholders within our order view, and it loads into all those placeholders other specific views. And that's the part that I really want to focus on. Finally, it finishes off with rendering the page. So here's what our order controller looks like. Sorry. My order view looks like. So order view has a JavaScript added in just so that our images can display, and essentially the whole part of this works on a form. And in the form we have the drop down. So I'll concentrate on our order drop down, or cake types. So we have our label, we have our input, which sets up the drop down list, we have our label, and then we have our very first code for our drop down, which has the swap image JavaScript function, which all it does is change the picture. And then instead of coding in each element in the drop down, we have a placeholder, and that's really what we learned mostly from this project, how to use MVC properly. So instead of having all the drop downs hard coded by HTML, we just have placeholders, as you can see here. So one for the cake type, one for the size, one for the decorations, one for the add-on. And this is very powerful for us because, one, it lets you link to our database, so if a customer makes like a change, you can see it, and it takes out a lot of work of hard coding. So as you can see here, commented out is our first of efforts, which we hard coded all our elements in, and then we realized that that's not the correct way to do things. So after doing more research and speaking to our instructor, we learned how to use these placeholders. And as you saw here, these placeholders, they get loaded in with this other views that we created. So our order drop-down placeholder gets loaded with the cake type drop-down view, which I'll show you now. So this is our cake type drop-down view, and it's a very simple piece of code that I'll narrate you through. So what we do first off is we create an array called array for drop-down. And then what we do next is we create a variable called x, and this is just to get a number to iterate with. So we query every entry in our items table, and we look for however many of them have a category ID of 1. And this is important because within our items table, the reason we chose a number 1 is because that is the only category ID that contains cakes. 2 would contain add-ons, 3 would contain decorations, and we were only looking for cakes, so that's why we went with the category ID of 1. Moving back onto it, so with that in hand, we just iterate through it with a simple for loop. So with a for loop, we say that for every entry within that table that has a category ID of 1, give me a new row, put that data into a row array. From the array, I want you to break off for me the image URL, the cake name, the ID, and the price. And finally, what we do, and this is really where all the magic happens, is we print out or put out some HTML with each of those drop-down elements. So here, the amazing thing is for every entry in that table, we've taken out all the information we've needed, given it a specific format of HTML to order out to, and this code right here gets transplanted into our order view right here. So where every element of the dropdown would go, it would be added in automatically. And that is repeated throughout the rest of the code with the order dropdown, the size dropdown, the decorations dropdown, and the add-on dropdown. The rest of the page is relatively simple. All we had is the submit button and a price counter, which takes all the data just like we had it from before. And we commit all the data that we have, and once we hit submit, it loads the post page and submits everything to our database. And that is our code for the ordering page. Thank you very much.